Hey guys, it's Ad from LUCIDPIXUL, and let me paint a scenario for you, and you tell me whether or not this is relatable. You're in your late 20s, maybe your 30s, maybe even your 40s, if not older, and you still have yet to find a viable, consistent, stable, artistic career. Maybe your family or your loved ones have been supporting you financially. You've probably had bill collectors chasing after you, and your self-esteem is close to zero. You feel like a complete bum, and you spend day after day living with the weight of shame sitting on your shoulders. If that sounds like you, you're not alone. And I want to help you through this. Before I do, however, two quick announcements. Number one, early openings in my online art mentorship. If you want to know about them, reach out to me directly because I can only announce it once a week, and a lot of people grab early spots during the week. Get in touch with me because I have early spots opening up all the time. I have a few right now, okay? And just ask if there's any early spots, and I'm sure I can find something accommodating for you. Sound good? Second, I have a second channel called Lucid Lounge, just live streaming for fun or whatever other impulsive ideas I come up with where we can just hang out and have fun together. Lucid Lounge, follow the link in the description because there's several Lucid Lounges and I want to make sure you find the right one, and make sure you find this logo because that's my logo, okay? Which I kind of like. It's kind of cool. With that said, to jump straight into the muddy reality of what your art life, art career might be. At the core of everything that you might have experienced for longer than you can remember is shame. And we need to address the word shame because shame is one of the most damaging things that you can put on yourself, in most cases, unnecessarily. Unless you've committed some violent act or you've deliberately caused pain to another human being knowingly, then chances are you don't really need to feel shame, yet you do. And more often than not, when it comes to being an artist, that shame comes with not being able to support your loved ones or your family or yourself to any great degree. Maybe your partner does most of the heavy lifting, if not all the lifting financially. You're somebody who's already in your 30s or 40s and you still haven't been able to lock down a stable long-term career, and you keep flip-flopping between getting some whatever job and not having a job, and getting some job and not having a job, going through long stretches of unemployment. And because you feel ashamed of this, because you feel like you, quote, should have accomplished more by this point in your life, you tend to keep that shame to yourself. You don't share it with people. And like any other situation where you feel bad and it's something that's impeding the quality of your life, the shame keeps you from reaching out. The shame keeps you from opening up to what can heal you, speaking to a professional, reaching out for help. You're in a toxic relationship where the person treats you badly, and you know it, and you've known it for years, and all of your friends tell you that you're an idiot for being with this person because they keep hurting you, yet you stick with them. So what do? Do you dump them? No. You feel ashamed for being so vulnerable and for being so stupid and naive, so you keep the toxic relationship to yourself and you keep getting hurt, right? It's the same thing with your art. So my first piece of advice to you is abandon shame. We have all been through this fakery, this illusion of the perfectly successful life out there with all the riches and the tan, the perfect hair and the perfect teeth and the perfect lifestyle and the beautiful, well-kept home and out there. Nobody lives like that. And if they do, good for fucking them. But that doesn't define you as a human being. We all go through good times. We all go through bad times. And if anything, opening up about the things you're ashamed about, which I do on my channel all the time, does not make you a loser. It makes you relatable. And it shows confidence that you can say, you know what? I'm not proud of where I am right now, but I want help. Can you help me? And that's the first step to overcoming it. And that might be the first step to you reaching out to a professional and saying, hey, listen, I'm freaking 47 years old and I still don't have anything stable, but I've been chasing after this art career idea my whole life and I feel like a complete loser. Maybe you're ready to listen at that point, but you won't be ready to listen until you can address your shame first. You have to acknowledge that there's something toxic You have to acknowledge that it's okay that you're there, and then you can start making the steps to healing. Second thing, realize something. Art careers are not a one-size-fits-all thing. There are as many types of art careers as there are artists. It's not like a lot of other careers that are very data-driven. You want to get a degree in this type of programming to do this type of job. You learn the information, you do the exam, and if you pass the exam with a good enough mark, you get your diploma, and then as a diploma, that qualifies you to get the job. When it comes to art careers, there are an endless number of art careers you can have. Is it fine arts? Is it illustration? Is it concept art? Is it design? Oh, it's illustration. What type of illustration? Is it trading cards? Is it book illustration? Is it commercial illustration? Is it splash art for video game studios? What is it? Are you working independently? Are you working in the studio? The list goes on. And as an artist, you need to be able to explore these different things, particularly earlier on in your career. The first decade to 2 decades of your career might be tasting and trying out all of these different career types and finding the one that clicks for you best. It took me well over a decade to find my niche, but I eventually found it. And I know this is a very common issue because I speak to artists about this every single day in my mentorship. It's the number one thing I talk about, and it's one of my favorite things to do. To look at an artist who's been struggling to to find some kind of a stable career, to find a sense of direction, look at their artwork and be able to say, I see this in you. What do you think? And they go from being somebody who was walked in with their heads down, mumbling because they were so ashamed of not having succeeded more at this point in the career, to their eyes lighting up the minute somebody says, what about that? And they go, yeah, that clicks. And they might not have considered that because they've been so focused on that popular career that all the other artists are chasing. When they realized maybe that wasn't you to start off with, you belonged over there. Okay, I'll give you a good example. I just finished with a student who, after 8 weeks together, she turned to me and she said, Adam, I really appreciate the time we spent together, but I realized the more I did the assignments in your mentorship, the more I felt disconnected from my artwork. And she was so worried that I would get upset about it. Like, why didn't you do your homework? And instead of me being upset with her, because she was already a very gifted artist, and I told her that since day one when we sat down together, I said, that's the greatest thing I've heard you say. You have no idea how relieved I am to hear you say that. Because from the day we met, I knew that there was something so special about your artwork that I didn't want to damage it. And I knew that being an illustration teacher, I respected, her decision to sign up with me. But I thought to myself, you're a different breed of artist. And once she described the type of art that she wanted to do and the stuff she did when she wasn't doing the assignment, I said, you're not an illustrator. You're a fine artist. Because all of the things you did to indulge instead of doing the assignments is all the stuff they shoved down your throat in the first few months of fine arts class. All of these different mediums, all of these different techniques, exploring the uniqueness of that person's artistic expression. That's fine arts. And I said, that's where you belong. Note as well that an artistic career is not necessarily you set it and forget it. Art careers can change over time. Maybe at the beginning you were more into 2D art, and then you know what? You fell in love with 3D stuff. And you got into 3D, it's like, oh, it wasn't clicking with me. So you got back into 2D, but you tried a different style, maybe more painterly versus cartoony. And then from there you went, you know what? Maybe I don't like the cartoony stuff, the more youthful stuff. I like the more dark, heavy stuff. And you start leaning more in that direction. And your art can evolve and career demand can evolve. And sometimes trends disappear and then they come back again. So because you adhered yourself to something that felt really, really good to you, for a certain period, there was a bit of a lull. There was a bit of a down curve in terms of employment, but then it came back and it caught up again when that trend resurged. And you were there to catch the wave because you already had years of experience. An art career requires a lot of flexibility in your mindset. And it might require you to be better at more than just one skill. Just drawing and just working on your canvases might not be enough. Maybe you want to learn some marketing. Go talk to Kelsey Rodriguez about that stuff. Maybe you're somebody who's more of a colorist. Go talk to Marco Bucci about that. You know what, maybe, I think I want to do environment art. Character art isn't doing it. Go talk to Tyler Edlin. There's all these different venues you can take. Maybe you want to do storybook illustration that has an animation style. Go talk to Tim McBurney. Okay? You've got a whole platform of artists from every different walk of life that can help direct you in the direction you want to get. And realize that just because you made a decision, just because you made a commitment to something, doesn't mean it's set in stone for the rest of your life. If that career choice is not serving you anymore, maybe you need to reevaluate and try something completely different. People do it all the time. Number 3, art and money do not need to come from the same place. You'd be amazed how many artists I've worked with that thought that they had to live with unemployment until their art was good enough to get them a job. That's not true. Art and money do not need to come from the same place. In fact, if you try to religiously stick to that principle, that can be your downfall, because you can spend years or even decades of your life waiting to be good enough to get that job, building your portfolio and your career in the hopes that you're going to get an art job that's going to pay your bills. And you've been living off of, government subsidies and stuff like that up until then. And you've been feeling like shit about yourself. That's not necessary. In fact, I would argue that doing that can do more damage to your art than good, because you're so focused on that paycheck, you're so focused on that bill collector, you're so focused on that poverty that you're dealing with, and you're trying to be creative and productive at the same time, that you completely have to abandon your artistic voice and artistic direction and redirect yourself every 5 months to try to chase after artistic trends and hoping that somebody's going to return your phone call. And imagine doing that for 10, 15 years to realize at the end of it, you went down the wrong path and you're still no better off than when you started off. That can be incredibly demotivating. So instead, what I recommend you do is indulge in the art that you want to do. And if you're not sure where to go professionally with your artwork, if you want to go in a professionally viable direction, speak to a professional. So find that sense of direction, focus when you're drawing, focus on that. And then when you go to get a job, any job, work in customer service, work in retail, work at Starbucks, work as a waiter, work doing phone customer service. I've done all of those things. And I worked at an arcade. Work in any job you can get that pays the bills, where you work with colleagues that are pleasant to be around, they're not assholes. And when you get home at the end of the day, you can dedicate that time to drawing. And a little pro tip, try to avoid as much as possible getting an art job that you can't stand, because that will drain your creative energy. I've heard many professionals say this. Don't get art jobs you hate. Instead, get a non-art job so that when you do sit down to draw, you're only doing the drawing that you love and you're going to keep yourself artistically inspired while you do it. Very important tip. Last but not least, I'm going to repeat something that I said a couple of art talks ago. Remember something incredibly important. Where you are does not determine who you are. The Diary of Marcus Aurelius. He's supposed to be this respected philosopher and teacher, and he felt he had lost sight of that. And then he remembered something. You are only as great as the decisions that you make in that moment. And you will make decisions, you will make mistakes in life that you regret. You will waste time and do things that you shouldn't have done. But that does not define you as a loser. It just means the decision you made in that moment wasn't the best one, and as a result of that mistake, you've learned where you do want to go. And the minute your decisions change, your life changes. So if you want your life to start changing for the better, it's up to you to start deciding to make better choices for your life. And those decisions that you make will immediately impact the quality of your life, and you will start feeling better and better about yourself. With your health, with your career, with your loved ones, with your finances, you name it. The quality of your life is directly relative to the quality of your decisions. And if you've made bad decisions, if you've made mistakes, they're already past. So only worry about the ones you're going to make moving forward. Sound good? With that said, I love you all with all my heart, and happy painting. Take care.